Tracy, Davies, and Mark Coghill of Newcastle, England met through a newspaper ad for Lonely Hearts. They were gearing up to celebrate Mark's 45th birthday. While spending some time at a pub, they later returned to Mark's home. As the evening unwinded, Tracy became upset about wanting a baby despite not being pregnant. Mark began to comfort Tracy, and as he did, she asked him to kiss her using his tongue. When he did this, she bit his tongue. He screamed and tried to push away from her, but then she began to chew on it before biting it straight off. Mark claims that he was in complete shock as he watched Tracy stand up, calmly take the tongue out of her bloody mouth and throw it on the ground. She did receive a 3-year jail sentence. Maxine, Gaget, and Zaria Medkour moved in together after meeting online in 2007. Only after a few months, Zakia began to be extremely abusive towards Maxime and eventually even held him hostage. She would burn his skin after holding a knife over fire. She put her cigarettes out on his skin, forced him to swallow sponges, and even made him drink window cleaner. He had become enslaved and was abused like this for over a year, being forced to sleep on the floor as if he was a dog. He wasn't even allowed to use the bathroom. She received only an 18-month jail sentence. After 20-year-old Alica Goematt began dating boyfriend Derek Leto, he quickly learned of the temper Alica had. After some time, Derek became a little suspicious when he noticed that his son Drew had unexplained cuts and bruises all over his body. However, Derek brushed it off as not being a big deal. Sometime later, Drew even had to be treated for his injuries at a Seattle Children's Hospital. It was only a week after this hospital visit that Alica became extremely aggravated with the 17-month-old child, who had been fighting with another child over a small toy. She became so upset that she began to kick Drew. Sadly, the 17-month-old child passed away due to injuries. After meeting in a bar, Wayne Robinson and Dominique Fisher had begun spending some more time together. One night, after a spree of drinking and drugs like cocaine, Wayne eventually passed out. As he awoke the next morning, he claims to have awoken to intense pain and began to panic. You see, after Wayne had fallen asleep the night before, Dominique found one of his Stanley knives and began slashing Wayne's shoulder, inflicting serious cuts. She then cut a star into his back, and to top it off, she carved her own name into his right arm. Wayne claimed he was so intoxicated that he had not felt a thing. She did receive a 2-year sentence of community order. Jodis, Arias, and Travis Alexander began dating in 2007. They had quite a shaky relationship that would come to an end after only 5 months. But not for Jodis. She started becoming obsessed with Alexander, going as far as slashing his tires, hacking his Facebook, and even often stalking him. Alexander was aware of this and told her to stay away multiple times. On June 4th, 2008, she snuck into his home and climbed into his bed. Here, Alexander would find her, yet strangely the two would later sleep together. Only 5 days later, on June 9th, friends of Alexander discovered his body dead in his shower. He was naked with his throat slashed wide open. He had been stabbed 27 times and shot in the head. Although initially denying it, nude photos of Alexander in the shower were found on her camera. She then claimed that he had attacked her. However, this later came out to be false, and she was found guilty of murder and is serving life in prison. After a hard day's work, Ricardo Morais was getting into his car when Tatiana, his girlfriend of 4 years, quickly jumped into the car out of nowhere. They had been on a 2-month break, so Ricardo was shocked to see her, and he wasn't expecting her at all. He started to drive home when she began to make sexual advancements towards Ricardo. When he refused, it really pushed her over the limit because she freaked out and stabbed him in the penis. When police arrived, she claimed that he had tried to rape her. However, she soon after admitted that that was a lie. Later in court, he said, "I felt the cold blade enter as I struggled to pull the car over." She got a 32-month sentence in prison after pleading guilty. Kevin Moore lived with his 2 young daughters in an apartment along with Kevin's girlfriend, Laura Kolb. One night at about 3 a.m., the couple began to have an argument. Kevin ended up leaving the apartment wanting to cool off. Laura, deciding to follow him, ended up falling down a set of stairs. This triggered her because she became even more angry and went back up the stairs into the apartment. This is where things took a sad turn for the worse. She took out her anger on 4-year-old Taylor Moore, Kevin's young daughter. After hearing screams, Kevin came rushing back into the apartment only to find his daughter knocked out on the floor. 2 hours later, at about 5 a.m., Taylor was very sadly pronounced dead. After leaving a bar late in the night, an intoxicated Chloe Mathews decided to make a stop at her boyfriend's home, whom she had been arguing with for the last couple of months. She succeeded in breaking into his garage, where she found his parked car. For some reason, she then set the car on fire and quickly left the home. The blaze spread throughout the garage and to the rest of the home, causing over $120,000 in damage. Soon after she left the scene, she texted her friend bragging about what she had just done, saying, "I got a bottle of metho and some newspaper and voom," even saying, "I'm a badass now." The at the time 28-year-old Kristina Nikole is as bad as they come. Her 77-year-old boyfriend, William Herchenrider, was a very, very wealthy man. You heard that right, 77-year-old man dating a 28-year-old. One night, after Kristina had a bit too much to drink, William decided he was fed up with her and wanted to end the relationship. This was clearly not on her agenda and threw her into a drunken fit. When police arrived at the scene, they found a barely conscious William covered in blood with his girlfriend lying next to him in her underwear. She had beat the man repeatedly with his own walking cane. William spent the next few months in critical condition before dying in his home. Kristina has been charged with murder and faces up to 40 years in prison. You may have heard of the Romanian woman named Marinela Benea, who made headlines recently when her husband Ionel Popa returned home from work. Marinela noticed he hadn't brought her any flowers, which she had been anticipating, being that it was International Women's Day. Now, not just that, he had also been drinking, so when he returned home, he went straight to bed. Marinela was not impressed. The next morning, she awoke him saying, "Go do some work, or at least help me with some house chores." He refused, saying that she wasn't entitled to give him orders. This sent her over the edge. She then said he wasn't a man and grabbed his testicle so hard that she ripped his scrotum open, leaving his left testicle hanging out. She later said, "It wasn't my fault that he pulled away, and I thought some ice would solve the problem, but he insisted on calling the ambulance. He was pretty annoyed. I would think so."